Liberty, the heroic battle of Elizabeth Packard.
I was young when Elizabeth Packard, married Theo Packard. He was much older than I. He was a friend and coworker of my father's, so he was a minister. I loved the idea of being married to a devout minister. I wanted a large family. I wanted to be a mother. I loved him, or so I thought. The truth is, I barely knew him. People of the church, this is why I believe that Christianity maintains the power of salvation and of God. Calvinism maintains the power of damnation and the devil. I believe Christ taught us that we can overcome our evil with good, and that our true natures are good, not evil. I believe that our God is a good and loving God, not an oppressive one. Calvinism teaches that only the elect will be saved, and that the rest of us will burn in hell. Please understand, we should be teaching our children that God loves us, and that if we are good and loving people, we too can rejoice in heaven one day. I don't understand. Why does he think I'm insane? Have I not been a good wife to him for 21 years? And here I thought he loved and respected me, but no. I simply state my own beliefs, and it is like he hardly knows me. But I will not give in. I will keep representing my beliefs. And for this he screamed at me, "You shall go to the asylum." How can I leave my children with this man that my husband has become? But why am I so afraid? Surely he cannot have me committed without evidence that I am insane, right? He's done it. He's committed me. The Illinois State Hospital for the Insane. I was abducted from my home this morning when my husband and the sheriff dragged me out of my house, holding me, carrying me, my hands and feet bound like I was a child. But yes, my husband had every right to do this. According to a law exception stating married women can be entered or detained in a hospital at the request of the husband without any evidence of insanity. Surely you must see that I am not saying I will not stay here. I cannot stay here. I have 6 children, 5 boys and a girl who all saw me be abducted from my home this morning. To see their own mother be taken away like an animal. My children need me. Who will take care of them? Surely you must see that I am not insane. I am begging you to listen. They say that all I need to do is sign a paper and that I will be free. But does that mean that I will be cured? No. I cannot do that. I will not do that. I cannot pretend to believe everything that my husband says. I cannot lie to my children. I am not sane, and I will not sign any paper binding me to submit to my husband's every belief. And further, I've seen what goes on here at Jacksonville. I've heard the screams through the walls. I've witnessed the beatings and the torture sessions. I've met women who have been locked here unjustly for years. This hospital is not curing them. The matrons are the ones who are truly mad, inflicting pain on these poor, weak, defenseless women. Well, I promise you this. I'm not saying I will not sign any paper, and I intend to reveal and uncover exactly what goes on here at the Jacksonville Insane Asylum. I've been locked in here for almost 2.5 years now. When I told the doctors that I would not sign any paper binding me to submit to my husband's every belief, they decided which ward I would be placed in. The 8th ward, for the violently and hopelessly insane. Here I have almost been killed many times by violently disturbed patients. For months now, I have been forbidden to write, but my friends, they supply me with paper and pen, and I write everything down, all of their stories. They tell me the truth about what goes on here, about the isolation rooms and the slave labor, the filth and the stench. We live like barn animals, and little do they know, I write everything down. My son is coming of age soon. He will be able to remove me from this prison. I know that I talk a lot about wanting to leave to expose this hell, but what if leaving only means me getting locked in another institution and having to start from scratch? Well, I was right. My dear son came of age and was able to remove me from my exile at the institution. However, upon my arrival home, my husband, who still believes me insane, decided to lock me in my children's old nursery. It's freezing locked in here. It's the winter of 1864, and I have been deprived of warm clothes, a blanket, or a fire to keep warm. The windows are nailed shut, and I haven't seen anyone except for my husband, who only sees me to give me food and to comment on his progress in admitting me to another institution. I've been locked in here for almost 1.5 months now, but I have finally found a way to hopefully gain my freedom. I've written a letter on a scrap of paper, and I find an opening between a few of the boards in the window. Hopefully, if I cast this out there, my neighbor will find it and will be able to get me help. I know that if I'm locked in another institution, I will never be able to escape again. Well, my neighbor Sarah Hanslet received the letter and went straight to a judge, where a writ of habeas corpus was declared and a trial was immediately set for me to defend my sanity. So I had this trial as my only chance at freedom. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I am a sane woman. I have not done anything to suggest that I am insane. I simply stated my own beliefs in an open discussion class, and because they differed from my husband's, I was accused of being insane and locked unjustly in a mental institution for 3 years. I won the trial. The verdict was reached in 7 minutes today on January 18th, 1864. So many women supporters saw me prevail in court that I believe I have already made a great impact on this country. I'm finally free, or so I thought. I arrived home to everything being gone. My husband must have packed up and moved before I came home from the trial. He's taken everything. My clothes, my money, my diary from the hospital, and he's taken my children. I realize now that I must stop the laws that allow my husband to do these things. I must stop them in Illinois and the entire country, and I will not rest until what has happened to me will never happen to anyone ever again. I spent the rest of my life lobbying for marital women and the insane. I was able to achieve so many of my goals by writing and selling books and pamphlets describing my horrifying experiences. This way I could become financially stable while still campaigning my ideas. Although I was never a businesswoman, I was able to campaign my ideas in what proved to be a masterful way. It was powered by educating people on the unknown law exceptions that took away the rights of women and the insane. I also began traveling state to state selling my books and pamphlets. I told my story to anyone who would listen. I began campaigning to change the Illinois commitment laws, and despite the strong opposition from the psychiatric community, Packard's personal liberty laws were passed on March 5, 1867. My laws reaffirmed the 1865 law requiring jury trial for commitment, and stipulated that patients committed before the 1865 law would be given a fair trial. Finally, I could start petitioning to change child custody rights for women without having to worry about being locked up ever again. So I began campaigning to change child custody rights for women, but I had to make it clear that I was not trying to take away the rights of men. I was only fighting for equal rights. In the end, women were granted child custody rights, rights to property, and rights to income. So as soon as I bought a house, using my book profits and money from my father, I was able to request a trial for my children. After a short trial, I was awarded the custody of my children. And I realized that as I set off to change the laws to get my children back, I changed so much more. After I finished raising my children in my house, I headed straight to Washington, D.C., where I got a total of 34 bills passed by several legislators, each aiding women and the insane in some way. I have been called a leader, and if that is true, then I hope my legacy lets us remember that if we are to speak at all, it is the truth alone that we are bound to utter, regardless of the censor or applause of mortals. Elizabeth Ware Parsons Packard. Are there any questions?
That was phenomenal.
Thank you.
I have two questions. My first one is, how did you get onto her? This is the first time that in my, 16, 18 years of history competitions that I have seen her name come up. I want to hear how it inspired you, or how did you find out about her?
So at first I wanted to do a project focusing on the early women of Illinois, and I wanted to do something with like health. So I was looking on about specific women online, and her name came up, and after I read her story, I really wanted to do something about her.
Where in Illinois was she from?
Well, the institution was in Kankakee, and after that she lived around in that area.
Any more questions? Did you like it as much as I
Yes.
did?